So let's quickly review the business object once again, right? Because from there only we will be able to create reports. So business objects, what are business objects? This is just like a table, right?
Yeah.
So let's check on the most used business object, which is worker. So you have three things: fields, related business objects, data source, and reports. So if I have to create any report, I need the data source, right? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So to create any report, we need the business object and the data source. But even if you don't remember that business object, it is still fine. Why? Because whenever we will create any a report, we just need to remember the particular data source from where we have to get the data. If we are able to remember that, then there is no problem at all. So that is what we have to keep in mind. Now, I'm going ahead and trying to show the things once again. So this is my field. This is my related business object. This is my data source, and this is my report. So field has three important parts, which is the name, then from where this field has come, whether it is a custom or a standard field. If it's a custom field, it will be calculated field. If it's a standard field, it will be workday delivered. Okay. Then if it is a field type, if it is numeric, I mean, there are different type of field types, right? That is basically your data type. So there is numeric, there is text, there is date and time, single instance, multi-instance, currency, and anybody remembers anything else?
Yeah.
Boolean.
Date and time.
Boolean, right? So yeah, we talked about it. So I'll repeat it once again so that you can refresh your memory. So we have numeric, text, date and time, then single instance, multi-instance, currency, and Boolean, right? So these are the things that we have to remember. Then coming on to the related business objects, there are two ways in which you have a relationship. So any business object has a common field between two business objects, okay? So whoever is the owner of that field will be called as a primary business object, and whoever is using that field will be called as a related business object. And I gave you certain examples as well. So if you see this number, right, 4, not able to click on it, but yeah. So what I wanted to show you here is basically anything which is there in this section, right? So there are 4 fields for academic appointment, which belongs to worker, and it is being used by academic appointment. Okay. So academic appointment becomes my related business object, and worker here becomes my primary business object. Now, why I'm using this word primary business object, you will see when we go into the report section. Okay. Similarly, that was the field of worker which was being used by others. Now we have the fields which is belonging to different business object, but being used by worker. So these are the two fields, issued to and the requester. This belongs to abstract business asset and asset share, but this is being used by worker. Now worker here becomes my related business object. Clear? Then let's go back onto the third tab, which is my data source. So there are two types of data source, standard and indexed. In order to reduce the data which is going to come in the report, we brought in this concept of data source. So what does it do? Data source basically helps you to remove the unwanted data. So for example, worker. Now worker will have all active, terminated, retired, all types of employee. Now, if I want to use only those data source which gives me the right information, right? So I can use any one of them. So there are more than 50 data source which has there. It's 60 here, right? So it can have more than 50. Now there are two types of data source, as I stated, standard and indexed. So when we use a standard data source, the search is linear. Linear means one after the another. But when we use index, it exactly goes to the same location in the memory and picks up the data. And here I gave you the example of a book which contains 1,000 pages, right?
Yes.
And if you're trying to look for a word, you will have to find the exact page number. Where would you go and search it?
Index.
Basically, there is a glossary at the back of the book.
Yeah.
So that gives you all the data. And now when we go into the reports, guys, there are two types of reports, standard and index. So standard reports are those reports which is given by Workday to us. We can use it if we have the permissions. We cannot make any changes to that. We can copy that, but again, the original report will remain exactly the same. You can't do anything. And if you see here, it says standard report, and then you have the data source, right? Then we go to the custom report. So when you go to the custom report, you see here in this, you will have the name of the report, and then you have the Workday account, right? Then you have the data source. Correct?
Yeah.
So any custom report that we create, we cannot create it without a data source. All right, so this is what we discussed in our introductory session in the overview. Now we will see how we are going to use this in a report. So there are three types of report that we are going to study. We are going to study simple report, advanced report, and advanced report with web services. Simple reports and advanced report we will study together, and we will study the advanced report with web services when we go into the integration part, which I believe will be next week only, not this week. And then along with simple and advanced reports, we will study the calculated fields. So that is the agenda. Now, if I have to create a report, there is a task for that. Now the task is create custom report. This is my task. Because we cannot create a standard report, so we are using this option, create custom report. Now, what is custom report? So a custom report is something which is created by users like us. Sorry. So we have the report name. Now report name is, let's say, I'll put something like WLE7 underscore simple. So in the simple report, we can only use one business object. We cannot go beyond that. All right, you see, and there are multiple type of reports that you see there. So there are 7 to 8 type of reports. So when you go into the advanced reporting sessions, in case anybody enrolls for that, there you will study all the report types and the calculated fields. Okay, so you have got advanced, composite, matrix, n-box, search, transposed, and trending. Okay, so we will start with simple. And then you see this option which says optimized for performance. So I'll uncheck this box. And what does it say? Clearing this checkbox enables you to select a non-indexed data source and a non-indexed fields, which might cause your report to run slower, which is fine for us. Why it is fine for us? Because in this tenant, we have only limited number of values, limited number of records. If the data is in millions and billions, or you see that, okay, there is a complex logic, I'm not able to fetch the data. In those cases, what I'll do, I'll use indexed data source. So for this scenario, it is fine to use a standard data source. So we will say all active and terminated workers. So guys, from where did I get this data source? You saw this data source somewhere. I just showed you, right?
Yeah.
When we were visiting worker, we saw this data source. If there is a confusion, really, let's clear it right now, because you may be asked a lot of questions on that. Why a data source is required? All those things will be asked if you go for an interview. So I asked that I am putting all active and terminated workers. So from where did I get it?
From data source.
Okay, from which data source? So
Workers.
guys, I just showed you, right? And you
Work-
don't remember, right?
From
When we
business.
were in the worker business object, there were
Yeah.
4 tabs, right? One is your fields, and then related business object. Then you have
Data source.
Data sources.
data source. So every business object has some data source inbuilt. Now this is the first data source that we have, right? All active and terminated workers. That is what I'm using,
Okay.
right? So this is what I asked, and you have seen it. And there are multiple data sources. So you have to review each data source. So what you do, basically export it to Excel and send an email to yourself or download it on your system. So you can, always keep it with you.
Okay.
You go into any business object, you will have the same things. Right now, I was only showing you worker. You can go into job profile, you can go into compensation. Everywhere you will have these 4 things. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so these are the basics, guys. We cannot miss this. If we are missing it, which means there will be an issue later on. All right, and in your interview, no one is going to ask you difficult questions. They will be specifically, they will ask you questions related to your fundamentals. How strong is your base? Because if your base is strong, if your foundation is strong, then only they can build you, right? They can give you further training. So don't miss on all this. So click on OK now. Now we will see the screen is basically a report writer screen. Okay, so it says temporary report. Now it says temporary report because we are not allowed to create a permanent report. This is a setting which is done. And it says it will automatically be deleted after 18th of August.
Okay.
Now here there are things that you will see. The report name, we kept this name. It says type is simple. Data source, all active and terminated workers. You see, data source type, it's a standard data source, right?
Yeah.
You see that?
Yes.
This is the one. Right.
Yeah.
Now, I did not put the name of the business object, but what do you see? Worker business object is here. Why? Because this is my primary business object, guys.
Yes.
Why this is my primary business object? What is the reason behind it?
From there only we are getting this terminated, all active and terminated workers.
From there, we are getting the data source. That's absolutely correct. Okay, great. That's wonderful. Now, you see, I am getting the option to write the field. So this is basically my report writer. Here I'm going to define my report, the report definition. So let's say I'll choose a name like first name, right? Because if there is a, worker, so there will be a first name or something written, right? Because without that, then, nobody will be there in the organization. Then if I have to add another row, I'll just click on this plus sign and then say last name. And then let's say I have to pull in gender. All right.
Yes.
Let's say I am going to, you see this section, it says column heading override. Now what this does, how exactly this helps us. So for example, you don't like this name of the column, the field name that you're putting in, it is confusing. Just think in that way. And you want to keep little more meaningful name. So I may say that I want to put f dot name. All right. So what it will do, it will override this entity will override this on the report. Okay. So this will give us the column heading override. Putting 3 fields for the moment. Okay. And I'll go ahead and click on OK. Now what you will see, the screen will give you three options, right? You see run, test, and done, right? So if I go ahead and click on run, this report will run on the complete business object. So whatever the data you will have, it will present in front of you. If I click on test, it will only give me 10 to 12 sample records that, okay, if the data is coming correctly or not. This is just to test it. And if I click on done, it will just save it. It will not neither run it or not test it. But let's do a test. So here you see gender, last name, first name. Now, first name is overridden by f dot name. So did you understand what is the meaning of column heading override?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. Now here you see my gender column is coming as blank and I only have 10 items. Now why I have 10 items? Because I did a test to check, right? Now let's run it. I'll click on actions. Okay, go to custom report. Now you can edit it and then run it. I'll just run it for the moment. So it should give me whatever values are there. It could be a possibility that the first name, last name itself is not there for many users. So there are 5,240 workers in this tenant. Okay. And you see the gender is blank. Now, what does that mean? It means that the values are, sorry, the values are, these are all bogus users. Bogus users basically means that, these are not the real users because this is a test environment. That's the reason you're facing this challenge. What we will do, we'll have to remove this bogus users, like, let's edit it and remove whatever is not required.
What is that arrow here, Debashis, like before that name?
Oh, that's just an icon, that this is the last name and it's just pointing it. Where you can just ignore that. So I'm just going to edit this and I'll actually go ahead and try to make little more changes. So I'll remove this. I don't need f.name. This was just to show it to you. And then let's say I'll put this at the top.
And what is the top options, Debashis? There it is showing.
That's actually going to give you what kind of value you are putting.
Okay.
Okay. So here just like name, display, you can remove them. It is not actually very much required.
Okay.
So by default it comes, so it is fine. And now we saw that the gender was coming as blank. Now what we can do, we can go ahead and add a filter. So you see this option, it says filter.
Yes.
I'll use this. So it says put your condition, filter condition for filtering on instances. Okay. So field, gender is my field. And what will happen here when you click on operators, guys, you will get all your logical operators that you have seen in sets, right? Exact match with the selection list, not the exact match, subset, not the subset, superset, right? All that things, all those things you see. And I'll say is not empty is what I want to use. So it should not be blank gender. I mean, if the gender is blank, that person is not right? That's a fake value which is coming. And then let's test it. Now you see, you're getting the values, right? Amiresh Gupta, last name is blank because they have put the first name, last name together. So that is also a challenge, but yeah, at least the values are coming in a better format. Now what we can do, we can run that. Okay. See, you're getting the values now.
Yeah.
First name, last name, gender, and the values are coming absolutely okay. Here, these are all test values. Someone has put those values also. We cannot remove them. The only thing what we can do is we can sort these kind of values. So right now you got only 800 employees whose gender, 887 employees whose gender is not blank, right? Out of 5,000 plus users. So that's the reason why you have all these things, a topsy-turvy things. So what you can do, you can go ahead and click on custom report, edit it again, and let's sort it. So there are options which say sort. Now, what do you understand by sort?
Arrange
Who will
in some
explain
order.
sorting? Sorry, what happened?
Arrange in some kind of order.
Yes, that is correct. So it could be more like a ascending order, descending order, right? Have you heard about a descending and descending
Yeah.
order?
Yes.
So we can actually do that here. Let's say sort it. So I'll say sort it on the first name. And I'll say it is, put it like a alphabetical descending. All right, click on OK. Click on run. You see, the values have changed, right? Now the values are coming with Z.
Yeah.
So this is the use of simple report, guys. Simple report where you have sorting, filter, and all these things. Now you want to add something more, you can keep on adding the fields of worker. There is no restrictions. Let's say I want to add the worker age. Okay, I'll put it at the bottom and say age. All right, click on OK. Now you might see there are a lot of users whose age is also 0. There is a possibility. See 37, 0, right? 53, 26, 60, right? So you can add the filters here also, and you can actually sort it as per the age also, the data. Okay, so let's see how we can do it. So this is how you play with the values, guys. You can just use it the way you want to run it, what you want to do, you can do that. There's absolutely no issues. Only thing is you have to understand that Workday, reports run differently. We can't write queries here. Okay. So let's say age. And I'll here use operator. Because this is numerical value, it will give me only very limited thing. So let's say greater than or equal to 18, because then only a person is legalized to work, right? And then let's say sorting. I will not sort it as per first name now. I will remove this sorting and I'll sort it as per the age. Alphabetically, which means ascending order. So whoever has a less age will be there at the top, and whoever has more age will go at the bottom. Now you see Jacqueline, male, 19. So now the number has further reduced to 704 because there were people whose age was 0. Now all those have been removed, or less than 18. They have been removed. Clear?
Yeah.
How do we use filters? How do we use sorting? How things work here? Any questions on this?
In practical, Debashish, how these reports will help us? I mean, what we need to work on these reports?
Sorry, I could not understand.
In practically, I mean, in real time. So how these reports will help us?
I will show you. I will actually give you some live examples how you want to go ahead and use it, because all those things also we will cover. This is just the start of the reporting, right?
Okay. Mhm.
See, why are we preparing a report? We are preparing a report because we need to bring the data in front of the person who has asked you to create a report. Now, let's say if there is a requirement that I need to know in my organization how many employees have declared their dependents,
Hmm.
right? So in those cases, what you need to prepare a report, and that will work on all the workers, all active workers at least, because then only you will know it.
Yeah.
So when you have that report ready, then whoever has asked it, your HR manager, or maybe anybody in the hierarchy, the compensation team may have asked, or the benefits team may have asked it, you will be able to give those values, give those reports to them.
Okay.
Right? Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yes.
So these are the I mean, issues by which you create a report. And now this is a simple report where I can use only one business object. I cannot use more than one. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I have to use multiple business objects, for that, I will have to go ahead and use advanced report. Okay. So to create another report, the task is same. Create custom report. The task will not change, but the name will have to change. WDLE7_advance. And I have to change the type of report, advanced report. Now you see, when I use this option advanced, it asks me, do you want to enable as a web service? For the moment, I'll say no. That is my third type of report, which we will see in the integration part. Now you see, alert has come. The same thing, that's fine, because I can go ahead and use this option, all active and terminated. So guys, when you have this optimized for performance check, right, it tells you, your report might run slower. But in our case, it will not, because the data is very limited. Okay, now you see here, I have almost everything very similar. Report name, report type, that's from simple, it changed to advanced. Data source is same. Data source type is standard, and the primary business object is worker, right? So all these values, you know how, from where it has come, right? Is there any question, confusion?
No.
No. Now in the advanced section, you see the number of things have changed now.
Yeah.
You see column, sort, filter, subfilters, prompts, output, share, advanced, right? And then you see this option, business object, field, column heading override, group column heading, right? So this tab and this section, we will use it when we go into the advanced report with web services. But whatever is there in this section, column, sort, filter, subfilters, prompts, output, we will use this in our advanced report. So here you're seeing, you're getting the name of the business object. I can just use the same fields, which I just used in the simple report.
Name
Right?
of the business object came automatically, right, Debashish?
Yes, why it has come? Because I have chosen that primary business object as worker. And from where it has come? From this data source.
Okay.
Okay. So whenever I'll click on any other row, this will automatically come. I'm just trying to create the same thing here, first of all, what I created in the simple report.
Okay.
And then I'll make some changes. All right, now let's add another business object. So I'll remove this. And let's say I'm adding job profile. Okay, now field. Let's say I'm using compensation grade. And then let's say I'll use another business object called as dependents. And here I'll say gender. Now this gender is not the gender of workers, but it is gender of dependents. Okay, so I have overridden it so that we don't get confused between this and this gender. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Cool. All right. So I'll go ahead and click on OK now. Click on run. I have not added any filter, sorting. I have not done anything yet. Let's see how does it behave. See what is saying, processing your request, please wait, right? Now, this is what happens when you use, when you have so much of data which is coming up. Now, you see, we have dependent data, right? First name, last name, female. Now compensation grade is blank. And this particular employee has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dependents, right?
Yeah.
You see that?
Yes.
So that's the reason the number of data has increased here. Now, in order to remove unwanted data, let's first rearrange this, the values in our report and add a filter also, so that we don't face that, issue of waiting. So we'll put the first name at the top, last name below that. Okay, so I have got, okay, I'll put this at the end of the report. Okay, this is for worker. I'll put it before job profile. Yeah. Now, let's remove unwanted data. So we can add a filter on gender. So guys, the most important thing that you have to remember now, a filter can be added only on the field of a primary business object. So which is my primary business object here?
It's worker.
Worker.
Right? So
Yeah.
this field, I am putting it or taking from worker business object. This is not the field from dependents. Okay, always remember that. Okay, very important point that you can never ever forget. The filter can only be applied on a field of a primary business object. Now you see, I've got Logan. Now the number of data has reduced, 990. Logan McNeil, female. My compensation grade is coming as blank, and then this is my gender of dependents. Okay, so if you scroll it down, more down, you will have values. Clear? Are you able to understand it?
Yeah.
So guys, what will happen now? My compensation grade is coming as blank. I don't want that to happen. What can I do?
have to add values here.
How will you add values?
We have to get the values from the business object as in a report, compensation report.
No, I'm sorry, I'm not able to understand. You can, I think you need to rephrase it.
Yeah, the compensation grade value will be in a different business object, like not as in a, maybe it would be in a worker also.
Okay, see, this compensation grade is coming from which business object?
Job
Compensation.
profile.
Worker.
Job profile. Okay, let me edit the report and show it to you first of all.
From job profile.
Right, so this compensation grade is coming from job profile. It is not coming from worker. If it was coming from worker, we could have just gone ahead and added a filter, right? Just now I explained that
Yeah.
I can only add a filter on a field of a primary business
Primary
object.
business object.
So compensation grade is a field from,
Job profile.
Job profile.
so job profile is a
Business.
Related.
Business object.
Related.
related business object,
Yeah.
Business object.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So can we add a filter on compensation grade?
No.
No.
As per the law, as per the rule, no, we cannot. There's no option at all.
Mhm.
So what do? We go ahead and add a sub-filter.
Sub-filter.
Okay. So after adding a sub-filter also, there will be a catch. Let's first understand how a sub-filter is added. So guys, whenever you have to add a sub-filter, you have to put the business object. So what is the business object here?
Job profile.
Job profile.
Job profile. What is my field?
Compensation.
Compensation grade.
Compensation grade. And what is the operator? I mean, what is the function I have to use?
Is not empty.
Okay. So as per the field, the value comes and it is not empty. And click on OK. And let's run the report. What do you see? Is there any change?
No.
No, still compensation grade as
It's empty still.
Yeah. So this is the catch which I was talking about. So this is the catch which I'm talking about. Now the challenge is the compensation grade is a sub-filter and it is from a related business object. Okay, understand this concept very clearly. If you have questions, please ask it. So the sub-filter has been applied and it is working. It is not that it is not working, but it is getting overridden by the filter of the primary business object. So whenever you have a priority, the priority will always be given to the filter of the primary business object and the fields of the primary business object, which means there is no relationship between a sub-filter and a filter. So Logan McNeil, gender is female. So these are the fields which is coming from worker, first name, last name, and the gender, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this three will be displayed. And then the field of related business object will also be displayed irrespective of the condition. So even if you have put that the compensation grade should be not empty, so that value should not be there, right? Whatever value you are seeing in the compensation grade, which is blank right now, as per the condition, that should not come,
Yes.
but it is
Yeah.
coming. Now, what does that show? It shows that the filter will have a priority over a sub-filter because it is from the primary business object. So primary business object will have always an upper hand on a related business object in a report.
Okay.
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 So this is a concept that we all have to remember, and we have to remember it forever. We can never forget it. It is not that the compensation grade is not working. It is working. But the challenge here is there is no value for Logan McNeil. Logan McNeil has no compensation grid. It is blank for her. And as you know, that if there is a field of a related business object, it will display the value as per the primary business object. So even if you have kept it as blank, or there is a value, whatever sub-filters you have applied, there is no control or relationship between a primary and a sub-filter. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Debashish, what if we don't use the filter and we only use sub-filter? In that case, will
You
it
can
work?
try that. You can try that.
Okay.
So the thumb rule will still work. I'm just removing the filter. Okay, it will give you more than 5,000 records, but the rule will still be the same. And what is the rule? What was the rule I just explained you, right?
Filter will override the sub-filter.
No, not the filter. The fields of the primary business object
Business object.
will always display the corresponding related business objects field. This is the rule, irrespective of the filter. And if there is a filter, filter will have a priority over the sub-filter. So right now I've just added the sub-filter, right? Let's see what happens. It will take a few seconds, but the values will come. Now you see what is the value. The compensation grid is still blank. Now what does that indicate?
Primary business object.
It indicates that the field of the primary business object will have a priority. Corresponding values of the related business object will always be shown. You can't do anything. So in order to remove all these things, we use functions. We use calculated fields. So when we go into the calculated fields, I'll explain you how that it works. Okay. So this was about filters and sub-filters, and that is about the advanced report. So today we have covered simple and advanced report. Advanced report, half of the part is still left. Half of the part is not yet covered. So it is still left. So we will cover that as well.